This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister addresses first Mann Ki Baat radio address in his third term, congratulates Election Commission on successful completion of electoral process, also introduces hashtag Cheer for Bharat for Paris Olympics. On a visit to Qatar, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar calls on Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani. Leaders discuss expanding bilateral cooperation in areas of trade, investment and energy. And France goes to the polls in the first round of French parliamentary elections as far-right eyes historic win. Second round likely to take place on July 7th. We begin with French elections. French voters are headed to the polls on Sunday in the first round of snap parliamentary elections that could usher in the country's first far-right government since World War II, a potential sea change at the heart of the European Union. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron stunned the country when he called the vote after his centrist alliance was crushed in European elections this month by Marine Le Pen's national rally. Le Pen's anti-immigrant party was a long-time pariah but is now closer to power than it has ever been. The polls opened at 6 a.m. GMT and will now close at 1600 hours GMT in small towns and cities, with an 1800 hours GMT finish in the bigger cities when the first exit polls for the night and seat projections for the decisive second round a week later are expected. However, the electoral system can make it hard to estimate the precise distribution of seats in the 577-seat National Assembly, and the final outcome will not be known until the end of voting on July 7th. The turnout rate was up significantly as of 12 p.m. local time in mainland France at 25.90% as compared with 18.43% for the 2022 ballot. At the same time, the Ministry of the Interior said the outcome of this election could affect European financial markets, Western support for Ukraine and France's nuclear arsenal and global military force. There are 49.5 million registered voters in France. And let's quickly go live across to Ross Collin, who is joining us live from Paris. Ross, thank you very much for joining us. To begin with, share the latest information as far as the polling is concerned. The polling progression, latest on that.
Well, we do have the turnout numbers, 29.5% so far compared to 2022, compared to 2017, the two most recent previous general elections, and it certainly is higher when you add in the fact that 2.5 million people have also registered to vote by proxy, well in excess of the numbers who registered to do so in 2022 and 2017. It does show that we are on track for a big number in terms of the turnout. 49 million people eligible to vote in France, and they do seem to be tapping into this sentiment that it is the most consequential election since the 1950s.
Yeah, most consequential and unprecedented elections, but there is also a clear sense of resentment against President Macron, which, by the way, is no secret anymore. You would agree what we saw in European elections. Expert called it a gamble, calling snap elections as far as Macron is concerned. But is it now just a matter of time for him to step down and pave a way for the new way France is going to be governed?
He said there's absolutely no chance of him doing that. Emmanuel Macron won the presidential election in 2022. He is able and willing to serve his 5-year term, full term to 2027. He says that no matter the result of these elections, he is determined to remain in the job. It's undeniable, though, that if the opposition were to win, he would come under increased pressure with a prime minister from a different party to try to govern with different political ideologies in the presidency and in the prime Prime Minister's office would be very tricky indeed, especially if that Prime Minister is coming from the far right's complete gulf in ideologies between President Macron and former presidential challenger Marine Le Pen, a most recognisable figurehead in the National Rally. It would likely be her protégé, the party leader, 28-year-old Jordan Bardella, who would be installed as the new Prime Minister, becoming the youngest in French history if the National Rally were to win a majority. He has said he would not take up the post of Prime Minister if the National Rally is the biggest party but falls short of a majority. If it does so, it's likely to be more gridlock in Parliament. So all the three key sides, Emmanuel Macron's centrists, the left-wing coalition, Greens, Socialists, Communists and France Unbowed, and the far right are all hoping that they can actually win a straight, outright majority and to be able to govern by themselves.
Having said that, Ross, what are the reasons attributed to Marine Le Pen's party's prominence? Many say that, well, she's not that popular as compared to the party. But what is it, as far as this party is concerned, which is cutting ice with the electorate of France?
Well, watching her campaign, seeing her move around the country, there certainly is a lot of popularity for Marine Le Pen. She's twice lost to President Macron in those presidential runoffs in 2017 and in 2022. But she says she's ready for 2027, third time lucky to try to come to the French presidency by winning that election in 3 years' time. She says and she hopes that her party will have 3 years now in power to lay the groundwork and put in the foundations for her to have an unassailable lead going into that presidential election in 3 years' time. She has tried to work hard on detoxifying her party. It has been plagued by allegations of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, racism for many decades since her father established the party when it was the National Front. She's changed the name as well to the National Rally, and they are in a prominent position nationwide. It's undeniable after the European Union results, the elections there to the EU Parliament, that the National Rally is the most popular party at the moment across France.
So, one thing is certain, is it like a writing on the wall, Ross, that France is clearly gunning for change? The people there are clearly wanting a change at the top.
Yeah, so moving around from small villages to big cities to right-wing rallies to left-wing rallies, it certainly does seem that there is a lot of appetite for one of those two options. The numbers of people who are pledging their allegiance to stick with the centrist alliance at the heart of government, President Macron's party, currently the largest in Parliament, 171 MPs, and it's the biggest group in Parliament, all but certain to become third in the election if the projections are replicated at national level, with National Rally at the top, with the left-wing coalition, which is the New Popular Front, in second place, and Emmanuel Macron's centrist Together alliance likely to come third.
All right, we'll leave it there. Many thanks, Ross, for joining us live from Paris on French elections that, by the way, are underway as we speak. Thank you. Shifting focus from elections in France to elections in United Kingdom, where Britain's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Sunday called the United Kingdom the most successful multi-faith, multi-ethnic democracy, while discussing racist comments directed at him. Sunak was referring to comments broadcast by Channel 4 News by a man named as Andrew Parker, a supporter of Nigel Farage's right-wing Reform UK party, calling Sunak a British racial slur for people of South Asian descent.
But in this instance, what was said was deeply inappropriate and racist, and I did it deliberately. I hated doing it, but I thought it was important to say it, to call out what it was, and that's why I did what I did. And I think the vast majority of these people in our country rightly believe that it's not the colour of your skin or your background or your gender that defines who you are. The fact that I'm the first British Asian Prime Minister, as you said at the beginning of the segment, is a wonderful thing, but also it's wonderful that it wasn't a big deal. And that's what's so special about our country. I don't think my story would be possible anywhere else.
Moving on to some latest news coming in on Israel-Hamas conflict, where Israeli forces on Sunday advanced further into the Shejia neighborhood of northern Gaza. Forces also pushed deeper into western and central Rafah in the south. At least 6 people were killed and several homes were destroyed in the strike. The Israeli military said forces operating in Shejia killed several Hamas operatives. Gunmen located weapons and struck military infrastructure. The military also announced the death of 2 Israeli soldiers in northern Gaza on Saturday. Meanwhile, Israel's finance minister has extended a waiver that allows cooperation between Israeli and Palestinian banks in the occupied West Bank. The waiver allows Israeli banks to process shekel payments for services and salaries tied to the Palestinian Authority. And just a day after the Hamas official reported no progress in ceasefire talks, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday stated that Israel is committed to fighting until achieving all goals. Netanyahu was speaking at the start of the weekly cabinet meeting.
Our forces are operating in Rafah, in Shejia, everywhere in Gaza Strip. Every day they are eliminating dozens of terrorists. This is a difficult struggle that is being waged above ground, sometimes in face-to-face battles, and it is also being waged underground. We are committed to fighting until we achieve all our goals.
In Iran, as no candidate has secured 50% of the votes, the country is all set to hold a runoff presidential polls on July 5th to elect the successor to President Ibrahim Raisi, who died in a helicopter crash earlier this year. DD India's Jaishankar reports.
Friday's presidential election registered a historic low turnout ever since Islamic Revolution gripped Iran in 1979. Out of 60 million registered voters, only 19.2 million cast their ballot, leading to a runoff presidential election between 2 candidates who received maximum votes.
We hope that the 2 dear volunteers who will present themselves for the people's vote again next Friday in their headquarters at the start of the week, as in the previous round, will comply fully with all the legal standards and good morals, and that we will witness another election worthy of the Islamic Republic.
Reformist Masood Pezeshkian secured a lead of over 1 million votes against the conservative hardliner Saeed Jalili, backed by the Guardian Council. While some voters in Tehran want their next president to take positive steps for the country, others still distrust America and want the 2 candidates to focus on policy and plans to energize Iran's crippling economy.
My expectation, like other people of this nation, is relative welfare, in a way that at least when you put in the effort, you don't step backwards.
My expectation is that the incoming president should take positive steps for the country, meaning he should be a people person and be practical, not just words-based, but he should act on what he says.
Both Masood Pezeshkian and Saeed Jalili will be tasked with navigating a solution for economic hardships and social restrictions, leading to a close contest next week. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Coming up next, this is what we have for you. UN convened meeting in Afghanistan taking place in Doha. And Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban presents a new alliance with Austrian and Czech nationalist parties.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter. We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events. We break
You're watching DT India Live. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and let's move on to some news coming in where a United Nations-led meeting with Afghanistan's Taliban will be held in Qatar today. Under Secretary General for Political and Peace-Building Affairs at the United Nations, Rosemary DiCario will chair the two-day meet. The meeting will address the multiple challenges facing the Afghan people, Afghanistan's neighbors, the region and the broader international community. The meeting, which will also be attended by envoys from some 25 countries, will be the third such meeting in Doha, but the first attended by the Taliban. The UN-led meeting aims to engage with Taliban on a way to improve the lives of millions of Afghans. The meeting will also focus on engagement going forward, along with sessions on private sector business and counter-narcotics. Austria's far-right Freedom Party's Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban Fidesz and the populist Czech ANO party led by Andrej Babis are forming a new alliance in the European Parliament. The move would record but possibly also split nationalist forces in the Assembly, provided 4 more parties join in. Parties from at least a quarter of the European Union's 27 member states are needed to officially form a new political group, while Fidesz has remained outside larger groupings since it parted ways with the mainstream centre-right European People's Party in 2021. Former Czech Prime Minister Babis says that the new group would be called Patriots for Europe. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared his thoughts with countrymen in India and abroad in his monthly radio broadcast Mann Ki Baat. Today's episode of Mann Ki Baat was the first after Prime Minister Modi assumed office for a third successive term. Prime Minister Modi touched upon various issues of social and cultural importance with the citizens of India.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Mann Ki Baat, the monthly radio broadcast, resumed on Sunday. Sharing his thought, Prime Minister Modi said, Mann Ki Baat radio program may have been paused for a few months, but the spirit of Mann Ki Baat in the country and society carried on relentlessly. Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanked the citizens of the country to show their faith in democracy and participated in the world's largest democratic exercise.
मैं आज देशवासियों को धन्यवाद भी करता हूं कि उन्होंने हमारे संविधान और देश की लोकतांत्रिक व्यवस्थाओं पर अपना अटूट विश्वास दोहराया है। 24 का चुनाव दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा चुनाव था। दुनिया के किसी भी देश में इतना बड़ा चुनाव कभी नहीं हुआ, जिसमें 65 करोड़ लोगों ने वोट डाले हैं। मैं चुनाव आयोग और मतदान की प्रक्रिया से जुड़े हर व्यक्ति को इसके लिए बधाई देता हूं।
Noting the importance of 30th of June for Santals, that is celebrated as Hool Divas or Rebellion Day, Prime Minister Modi remembered the indomitable courage of Veer Sidhu Kanhu, who led the rebellion and fought against the British regime.
30 जून का यह दिन बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। इस दिन को हमारे आदिवासी भाई बहन हूल दिवस के रूप में मनाते हैं। यह दिन वीर सिद्धो कानू के अदम्य साहस से जुड़ा है, जिन्होंने विदेशी शासकों के अत्याचार का पुरजोर विरोध किया था।
India launched a special campaign, Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, on World Environment Day this year. Prime Minister Modi appealed to everyone to plant a tree along with their mothers or in their name under this campaign.
इस वर्ष विश्व पर्यावरण दिवस पर एक विशेष अभियान शुरू किया गया है। इस अभियान का नाम है एक पेड़ मां के नाम। मैंने भी एक पेड़ अपनी मां के नाम लगाया है। मैंने सभी देशवासियों से, दुनिया के सभी देशों के लोगों से ये अपील की है कि अपनी मां के साथ मिलकर या उनके नाम पर एक पेड़ जरूर लगाएं।
Prime Minister Modi also mentioned the importance of Sanskrit as it played a big role in the progress of ancient Indian knowledge and science. Prime Minister Modi urged countrymen to connect the ancient language in their daily life.
आज 30 जून को आकाशवाणी का संस्कृत बुलेटिन अपने प्रसारण के 50 साल पूरे कर रहा है। मैं ऑल इंडिया रेडियो परिवार को बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, संस्कृत की प्राचीन भारतीय ज्ञान और विज्ञान की प्रगति में बड़ी भूमिका रही है। आज के समय की मांग है कि हम संस्कृत को सम्मान भी दें और उसे अपने दैनिक जीवन से भी जोड़ें।
Prime Minister Modi also spoke about Indian heritage celebrated by Suriname and St. Vincent and Grenadines. He also thanked Kuwait government for a radio show dedicated to the Indian culture. The 10th International Day of Yoga celebrations was also mentioned by Prime Minister Modi in Mann Ki Baat program. The radio broadcast was last aired on February 25th and then took a break for general elections. Bureau Report, DD India.
And while sharing thoughts with the nation, in his 111th episode of Mann Ki Baat radio broadcast, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke about the Indian products which are in great demand across the world. He especially mentioned Araku coffee of Andhra Pradesh, which has received many global awards, and snow peas of Kashmir.
साथियों, भारत के कितने ही प्रोडक्ट्स हैं जिनकी दुनिया भर में बहुत डिमांड है, और जब हम भारत के किसी लोकल प्रोडक्ट को ग्लोबल होते देखते हैं तो गर्व से भर जाना स्वाभाविक है। ऐसा ही एक प्रोडक्ट है अराकू कॉफी। अराकू कॉफी की खेती से करीब 1.5 लाख आदिवासी परिवार जुड़े हुए हैं। दिल्ली में हुई G20 समिट में भी कॉफी छाई हुई थी। आपको जब भी अवसर मिले, आप भी अराकू कॉफी का आनंद जरूर लें। साथियों, लोकल प्रोडक्ट को ग्लोबल बनाने में हमारे जम्मू कश्मीर के लोग भी पीछे नहीं हैं। पिछले महीने जम्मू कश्मीर ने जो कर दिखाया है, वो देश भर के लोगों के लिए भी एक मिसाल है। यहाँ के पुलवामा से स्नो पीज की पहली खेप लंदन भेजी गई।
In other news, India's External Affairs Minister arrived in Doha on a day-long official visit on Sunday. The EAM was received at the airport by Chief of Protocol Ibrahim Fakhru. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held talks with Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani with a focus on exploring ways to expand bilateral cooperation in areas of trade, investment and energy. India and Qatar share historic and friendly relations which are marked by regular exchange of high-level visits. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. India's Chief of Naval Staff Dinesh K. Tripathi arrived in Dhaka in Bangladesh for a 4-day official visit from 1st of July. The visit is aimed to consolidate bilateral defence relations between India and Bangladesh and to explore new avenues for naval cooperation. Amid heavy rainfall in Ahmedabad in the Indian state of Gujarat, a large tree was uprooted and collapsed, resulting in significant damage to 2 parked cars. Authorities are assessing the damage and ensuring the safety of the residents in the vicinity. Well, India ended their 11-year wait for the major ICC trophy by fighting back spiritedly to beat South Africa or Proteas in a thrilling T20 World Cup encounter finals yesterday. It is India's second T20 title, having won the inaugural tournament in 2007 and first World Cup win in either format since the 2011 50-over competition.
Indian cricket team ended their 11-year wait for an ICC trophy after they defeated South Africa by 7 runs in a thrilling T20 World Cup final at the Kennington Oval in Bridgetown, Barbados. Batting first, India got off to a flying start as openers Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli added 23 runs before Keshav Maharaj removed the Indian captain in the second over. The men in blue then suffered massive blows as Rishabh Pant and Suryakumar Yadav departed in quick succession. Kohli later stitched a crucial partnership with Akshar Patel to propel India to 176 for 7 in their 20 overs. Defending 176, Jasprit Bumrah provided an early breakthrough as he cleaned up Reza Hendricks with a sensational delivery. Arshdeep later bagged the huge wicket of captain Adrian Markram to reduce South Africa to 12 for 2. Wicketkeeper batter Quinton de Kock and Tristan Stubbs then stitched a crucial 58-run stand to bring Proteas back into the game. Batting at number 5, Andre Klaasen later slammed a blitzkrieg 50 to put South Africa in a great position. However, Hardik Pandya dismissed Klaasen for 52 in the 17th over to change the fortune in India's favour. At the other end, Bumrah continued his brilliant spell as he removed Marco Jansen. As South Africa needed 16 of the final over, Pandya bagged the huge wicket of David Miller, courtesy of an incredible catch by Suryakumar Yadav. Pandya later kept his calm to guide India to their second T20 World Cup title. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India, Barbados.
And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the globe on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code right on your screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. As of now, I'm Sakal Bhatt from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.